good?
I haven't seen you since the combine.
Yeah.
What do you think of your roster now compared to then?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, what we really look to do is try to continue to raise the floor of the organization, right? How do we continue to get better? Consistency, good, sound football players that love to play the game. Really, that's all we were really trying to do, and I think that ultimately they'll come in, mesh really well with some of the players that we already have in our locker room. Guys want to get better. We've felt that. We have felt that throughout this offseason. Guys are eager to get in the building, as we are as coaches. Man, it's happening fast. So really excited about the collaboration we have had with some of the drafts, some of the free agency, and their current roster. Things are going pretty well so far.
Can you take us through some of the free agents that you signed? What you like about this free agent class?
Yeah, I think if you literally look, with the 4OL, really those guys at the end of the day with Makari, Chuma Edoga, Robert Hainsey, and obviously with Johnson there, Fred. Guys, these guys they love to play the game. They love what's about to be an O-lineman, right? That's kind of who they are at the core. Hainsey's been in the system. So now you have two O-linemen that have been in your system now, some version of it with Luke Fortner and now Hainsey. That'll help spread out to a lot of our players. They'll be able to understand system a little bit quicker. Coaches, it's going to help in so many different ways. So you look at obviously the OL, and then on the offensive side as well, at receiver with De'Ami Brown with getting some speed, right? Somebody else that can go down the field. So BT's not always having to be that guy on the top shelf. And then on the defensive side, man, you really look at Jordan Lewis and being able to bring another veteran defensive back in there, help settle things down in the back end, and create some competition with Eric Murray. I think we've done a nice job with being able to get those players that'll help settle things in and be able to create that kind of balanced football flow that we're looking for.
The familiarity too.
Yeah, that was a great point.
How important is it so many guys have familiarity with what you do?
Man, it's on the coaching staff too. That's the beautiful part, right? We've been able to get onboarded so much quicker just because, man, look at the offensive staff. They have almost all been in a version of this system. So as much as being a head coach for the first time has been amazing, I haven't been able to do as much football as I'm used to, but to hear the conversations that are happening in the building, be able to go in there and hear the dialogue and the presentations, it's pretty cool because I'm familiar with that flow, and so many guys just getting protections onboarded. All three of the quarterback, OL, running back coach have all been in this protection system. Think about how much quicker that is to be able to onboard.
I know that the calendar kind of dictates how changes go about now, how you guys are to approach things.
Yeah. Man, a lot of time. We've spent almost every waking minute together throughout the last few weeks, honestly. It's really just been us together with the help of some others as well that have been part of this process. But it's so easy to talk to him. I mean, he breaks things down to such an elite level of simplicity for me because he's a lot smarter than I am. And so he's able to break down the draft, understand it as well as anybody I've heard have these conversations. We've got guys in buckets of where we're trying to look for them, and he's been able to map things out for me to be able to understand at a high level.
Hey, when you had Baker last year, the veteran quarterback, how important was the collaboration piece to earn his trust and challenge him?
That was a huge part. I mean, obviously I was with him for a short time in LA. That helped bridge that gap a little bit, and I can't thank Baker enough for what we were able to do last year. That was such a cool year, and he was such a big part of that. Maturing off the field, man, he became a father. He became a husband. Like, he has really been able to grow. He understands the game at a high level. I think he's a little underappreciated from that aspect of his game. We were able to have really good dialogue, which only helps being on the field and having communication, and his leadership goes without saying. So it was easy to have those dialogues.
How can you use that and apply it to Joe?
Yeah, I think just being able to have honest conversations. Like, we had some real hard, at times, honest conversations that allowed us to, in times of crisis, be okay, right? In times of adversity, have real fluid conversations, because it gets heated. Bakes yelled at me. I was okay with that. We had a good conversation, we moved on, but every relationship's different, and I think that's what's important is you learn something from Matthew Stafford, from Jared Goff, from all these guys, and Baker, to be able to take for these relationships moving forward.
In your draft process, kind of in a truncated start point here, have you noticed anything about the way, if there's a way that James has packed a lot of information into that truncated period?
Yeah, I think you look at the buckets, right? We've really kind of started to put players in buckets, and it's each round has 2, so we're able to have enough buckets there where it's not too much, but we do have enough on the board. Now I'm also merging, our players that were off their board in LA that maybe we have to have conversations about here. It's been so organized. The way he kind of has things is like a call sheet, like an offensive or defensive coach's call sheet, not your typical draft board, if you will. So it's easier for me to read and understand, which I think is really cool. He's a coach's kid, so he wants to do things that way, which I really appreciate.
You talked about the importance of your staff as a first-time head coach. What did you learn putting a staff together?
Shoot.
Yeah.
That's a great one, Sarah. That was probably what took up the most of my time early on, that you're ready for, because you have a board, right? A coach's depth chart that you've been kind of creating over time, right? Over the years of doing this, you're banking them and then finally getting them on paper. Well, you don't just get to pick them. It's not the draft. You have to go get them. And so now you're recruiting against another coach at multiple, maybe other places, college, NFL, families, everything. You have to sell. You're back in recruiting mode. So, hey, was just in college not too long ago, got into mode real quick, and we were rolling. I mean, that was the hardest part, though, was getting on those calls, being able to recruit 2 a.m. on the West Coast Zooms. It was a lot, but, man, really pleased with the staff we were able to put together, and that was the most stressful part, though.
What did you learn from Sean? Well, one, how would you describe him as a recruiter, and what did you learn from Sean about the people he surrounded himself with in LA?
Yeah, people that were, when I walked into that building in 2018, I had never felt anything like that before. Just the continuity, the positivity, the true, man, hey, how are you? It actually really meant something. I just felt like he stepped in that building and was truly himself every single day. That was something I've really learned last year, was I wasn't trying to be somebody else. I was really just trying to be myself, and everybody does that. Good things typically happen, and you build good relationships, and that's what he's always done. You have a real conversation with Sean McVay every time you guys interact, and I think that's what ultimately makes him a great recruiter and surrounds him with unbelievable people.
What's your selling point to these?
Yeah, I do. I think we are. I mean, if you look at the way we set things up, there is, I don't want to say a succession, but it's built for people to elevate and grow. That's what we want. We want to win games right now for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's priority number one for these coaches. But I'd be silly not to say that I don't want them to, develop and evolve and grow. That's the goal. I want these guys to be able to go off and be successful. That means we did something right. But for right now, their focus is on, winning games for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I've been really happy with their flow. Anthony Campanelli is a first-time defensive coordinator. I went and sat in a defensive staff room, and that was being run like the players were in there. He was making a call. The defensive staff is going, all right, I got the cloud, I got the flat, I got the hook curl, and it's like, pop, 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 pop. I was like, oh, shoot. It was moving. It was good. So really impressed.
What was your selling point to some of these guys you're recruiting? Some of them are in good situations, but why come to something else?
Hey man, I was able to go to the Rams and learn what I thought was getting my PhD in coaching, right? I'm not Sean, and this is a version of that place, right? But maybe if you haven't been in this system or been a part of it from, whether you're more in you just haven't had an experience of working under one of these coaches yet, hey, come. Just be bold, man. Come do something different. Come be a part of something that may not be what you're used to. And, Jacksonville doesn't hurt. Being a tax-free state doesn't hurt. But really, it's part of starting something new. And truly, I'm really saying, is build it the way you want to be able to build it. Do things that, are hard. It's going to be hard. But that's what's the fun part.
Well, we talk about the learning curve for you, making that transition from offensive coordinator to head coach. And also, what does a typical day look like for you in the offseason?
Man, I just got asked that question. It's a really good one. No, it's a great one. I really do, because you're as an OC, you're managing, 10 coaches, players, a little bit of staffing, but not, that's basically about it. Now, there's other parts to it. And it keeps adding up, right, with defense, special teams, a little bit of the situations outside. But that's the beautiful way of how we structured this with myself, James, Tony Baselli. I'm able to truly focus on the staff. That's it. I'll keep the main thing. I'm a football coach. James does personnel. Tony's able to help with so much of the support staff and communication. So yeah, the time is doubled. I haven't done a lot of ball, but it's been really cool. I think with the players coming in soon, be able to do a little bit more. But a normal day right now starts with about 6 a.m. They have a schedule for me every day, and then I go in with James for the rest of the day. So that's where we've been at right now.
What was it about your 1 year of opportunity that made him somebody you wanted to bring with you?
Okay, you get in there and they had struggled to run the football for a few years, right? And he had been the center of that, and that was not something he was just like, ecstatic about, right? He took that personal. He was really one of the voices in that room that I thought stood out all the way through and consistent as a leader and as somebody that does things the right way, communicates at a high level, and when he does get on the field, plays his ass off. And that's what he's done. So, and obviously worked with Robert for the last year, really feel strongly about his leadership, the communication. And when he played for us this year against the Saints, you go and watch that tape, and you could see he was playing to prove it, right? He was playing to say, man, this is who I am. This is how I play. It didn't work out for him this year. Ends up, Graham Barton wins the job and plays. But how he mentored that situation and that relationship while also communicating to the rest of the offense, that was really why we ended up wanting to go to do that.
How much can that help Trevor? Center already has knowing the offense.
Yeah, both those guys, as I mentioned, with him and Luke having a version of the system is going to help those guys, especially Trevor. But we can't use it as a crutch, though, right? Everybody's going to have to dive in, learn it at a high level, and commit to it. But obviously having that relationship and that communication will help out for sure.
You've talked about the willingness to adapt, to maybe change the scheme on the fly even. When and where did you sort of learn that willingness or the importance of that willingness, and how do you see the players maybe responding to that?
Yeah, I don't know, it was always like my dad, even like as a kid, they ran the wing T, so we had like a lot of different skill players, right, on the field at once. It might not be just a wide out, right, or just a tight end or just a running back. It was 3 different skill players that ultimately can do different things. And so when you watch that growing up and you see the usage of it, I always was impressed by the misdirection of the wing T and how everything looked the same but ended up different. And then I get to the Rams and I hear the exact word of the illusion of complexity. Hey, same plays, but we're making them just look different. So it was already in my mind from what I saw growing up. And so then you're able to apply it a little bit, and especially at the college level, you've got to be able to adjust to the players, right? To both their capacity and what they can handle physically. And then obviously in LA in 22, we lose every O lineman and have a million injuries, and we still had to compete, guys. I know we didn't win, but we still had to compete. And so that was a fun experience, although not the best year of my life.
How did some of the players sort of respond to that willingness to adapt, to change, all of that kind of stuff?
I think every coach does try to do that, right, at some capacity, I think. But I felt last year, those guys were pretty bought in, early on, right? When just the way that maybe you introduce the system, the way that you incrementally put it in and show them the why. I'm not just telling you what's black and white. I want them to know the why. I want them to then ask me about the why. I do. Now, there's a certain point where, hey, guys, this is the way where we're doing things. You still have to have that. But I want the inclusion. I wanted to hear Mike Evans tell me how he runs that route so that not just me, I can learn, but the other guys in the room can learn as well, and it creates better dialogue.
What does the draft need to look like? Faster? Is there something you want out of it?
Yeah, I think we've talked about intangibly rich, like really good football players is what we're trying to find. I mean, that's guys that truly love and live playing football, right? To that extent, right? We want them to be both mentally and physically tough. Those are the things that are going to be kind of non-negotiables for us when it comes down to it. The rest, man, fast, strong, long. Like, we're not even trying to use those adjectives or those words in this whole deal. We're really just trying to say, like, do we want them or not? Like, do we want the player or not? Do we want to coach this player or not? Try to keep it there and then be able to get into it. So mentally and physically tough guys that love to play, that ultimately, man, they're just loving to compete. You know, coming from maybe some good programs that have won, that know how to do things, right. I felt like that was something in Tampa last year that really helped that rookie class. They all came from really good programs that helped them get onboarded pretty quickly.
Players come back with it. Yep. What are they walking into?
Energy. You know, that's the first thing what we're really trying to place is just feel, guys, like this is good stuff. It's great to be back. We're doing football, guys. How many of us get to do this? We get an opportunity to do this every single day. There's so many that don't. And so how are we going to approach this thing? I think they'll walk into that kind of feeling. And, you know, we'll just do meetings, obviously, throughout phase one, introducing our systems while we at the same time start to introduce our culture, the way that we're going to be, the way we're going to talk to each other, the way that we're going to communicate with each other, how we're going to treat one another. That'll go hand in hand with the systems.
Can you, Liam?
Rams overhaul their team building strategy to overhaul through the draft specifically, and James being the lead strategist
Yes.
on that. When you reconnected with him, how was he different from when you knew him before?
Man, it's not like that was the thing. Like James and I weren't just like we weren't like homies. You know, like we worked together. He was leading always the undrafted free agent process after the draft, and he spearheaded it. Like he talked. He was the guy communicating to both the coaches and the scouting department. Right, that was what he did. He was in charge of it and led it. And I was like, man, this dude's impressive. You know, like this isn't easy to communicate. Bullets, things are flying in that moment, and he's able to keep his head so cool, communicate at a high level, and then, man, go back in 22, and he's now doing that with the draft. And he's really hand in hand with Les and working with Sean and those guys in that process that I'm like, whoa, okay, that happened quickly. And, man, his just ability to communicate with all walks of life is really cool, and his organizational skills have helped me out tremendously.
Going into Sean's environment, what was your kind of evolution of your being a young assistant and kind of spending time there, and how are you trying to implement that?
It's a great one, Gary. Like, I remember being in my third or fourth month working for Sean, and I'm just drawing. I'm a drawer, right? Like here, drawing plays, trying not to, just get in the way. And he comes by my office one day at like 6 p.m. I'm just studying. It's the off season, and he walks by my office, comes in, and is like, "Hey, man, just really you're doing a great job, and I appreciate you being here. I'm really happy you're here." And that was out, and I was like, oh, okay. You can be told you're doing a good job in this sport, because all the other places I'd been and how I'd grown up, it's like, hey, you just do what you're told when you're told, and you don't do it because somebody said good job. You do it just because you're a coach, and you're a little bit more of a soldier mentality. Though it was just a different feeling that you're like, oh, okay. It's okay to tell guys, hey, man, I love you. It's okay to open up and be actually a human being too. And so that was always the culture where you felt like, man, all right, I have to be at a high level while I'm here, but man, I can be myself. Yeah.
You talk about wanting the players to feel the energy when they come back. What's the key to sustaining that? So it's not just the burst and then the things fizzle off.
Yeah, it's just incrementally inputting the culture. So it's not just, man, culture overload day one when you're like, as a player and coach and staff, it's like, man, that was way too much. Like, this is a lot. Hey, incrementally, really just, man, because it's culture is how we truly just are. How we talk to each other, how we hang out with each other, the way we hold meetings and gatherings together. So it's just incrementally, let's have these conversations about trying to do more of this instead of this, right? At the end of the day, how do we connect closer? And, players, you have to show them. Like, you truly have to, hey, let's show them examples of what we want this to look like. I remember Harvard did a study a few years ago on the Boston Celtics and the Lakers on the power of touch. When you shoot a free throw, and every single dude, right, you see them all dap people up. In the basketball world, the power of touch is so huge in terms of the best teams that year that touched the most in terms of the connection, the high fives, all that stuff. There was the Lakers and the Celtics, they were the best teams in the league. And so there's a whole study about it I thought was interesting, because it's like, man, for us to actually be connected, we've got to be able to high five and, man, celebrate and have a good time together, that's what we're trying to do.
Liam, you talked a lot about relationships this morning. How at this early stage can you build with Trevor?
What's that?
In this early stage, how are you able to build, or have you been able to build with Trevor?
We've had some really good conversations, and not being able to work with him quite yet, but man, we went out to dinner a few times, and I saw the vision. Talk to a guy that I know right off the bat is physically and mentally tough. Like I believe that about him, and so that's how I'm excited to work with him about it. He's open. He just wants to play at the highest level as he can. He wants to accept as much coaching. He wants to be coached hard, and he wants to do well. So those are the great conversations, that he's open, he wants to work, and he's been willing to work. Really excited about those going forward.
You were talking earlier too about the profile of player you were looking for, and it wasn't necessarily a certain physical template. Does one of your free agents, Jordan Lewis, does he kind of fit into that? I mean, he's an undersized guy, but he seems competitive.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Lewis, man, broke my heart last year. Where going down to win and take the lead against Dallas last year, we throw a kind of a post to Jalen McMillan. It looks like we've got it. We're going to take the lead, or at least tie at that point. And J-Mac has it. Jordan takes it out at the last minute, and it ends up being an interception for a touchback. And you're just like, man, that's who he is. That's the way he competes. It's to and through the whistle. Like those guys that do it like that at a high level and are able to communicate as well at a high level, those are the guys that we're trying to bring in. He's completely what we were looking for, and really excited to have him.
When you're talking about the culture and recruiting players, for a big thing is guys wanting to play for Sean. Are there any examples you have, or just that you saw free agents come in and say, like, yeah, this is the guy that I want to play with?
Yeah, I think if you look, obviously, it's probably clear to look at Robert, coming from Tampa, but like just to follow up maybe and hear the way that he was able to communicate some of that, you saw maybe bleed into some of with Patrick McCarry, some of our conversations, Diami Brown, some of those conversations we just had with Jordan Lewis, those were open and honest really quickly, and you felt guys that did want to be a part of change. And ultimately, that's cool where you're able to have those relationships at other places with people. They talk. Like, those guys talk. BT talked to Mike Evans. Like, they talk. So at the end of the day, that's what you want. That's going to help you. I want those players to go call those guys in Tampa and see what they'd say. It's only going to help out.
I'm sorry. How much more physically on the offensive line do you feel than you did before free agency?
I think that's, yes, physical is a mass and size issue, but it's also a mentality.
Right.
It's also the way it's coached, the way it's taught, the way it's preached. So I'm kind of going to hold on evaluating that part. Do I think we got competition in depth? Absolutely. I think we got some good, sound, solid players that are going to help elevate that floor. But let's go wait and see what it truly looks like when we actually go and compete and do things the way that we're going to do them.
You added a bunch to the offensive line. You want to add to the defensive line with the draft?
Yeah, I think ultimately you're looking to add some competition in there. We've got some really good players down there. I think, we've got 3 first-rounders, right, on our defensive line currently. So 3 guys that are going to have some good years, hopefully. They're hoping, elevate that room, and we'll continue to evaluate it. But, yeah, absolutely, you're looking to add definitely somebody to the D-line, however that thing plays out, inside or outside.
In your conversations or dinners with Trevor, that he's frustrated with his inconsistent performance, hungry, how would you quantify his mentality 4 years in?
Yeah, I think pretty mellow in a good way, though. You feel a sense of urgency from him without it sounding like a panic. He knows, he's confident, man. He loves to play. He doesn't want to be hurt. He doesn't want to be not in the game. That means a lot to him. And so when you start there and that's the floor of the conversations, man, you feel so good about where it's going to go because it's honest. You can feel it from him. So he's hungry, though. I would say that for sure. He's putting in time right now on his own without any sort of, he's doing it on his own maybe twice a day right now, doing stuff to help him get better. I think the fans should know that's this guy's work ethic. That's the way he does things.
Right now.
Yeah, man, he's getting better. He's throwing a little bit, and he'll be able to get going in the spring and be able to throw a little bit more. But man, he's getting better and better each day.
It's a new thing.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's just getting used to 2 plays. They did a good amount of it last year, but it more in the pass game at times. But it's more just getting used to almost that's just being the normal rhythm and routine of how we kind of operate. And it's just repetition, man. It's just a ton of repetition. Once you're able to visualize the formations, motions, things like that, that's when it becomes so much easier to call it to where you can start to visualize it. It won't happen for a little while. We had a little bit of a bridge in Tampa with Dave Canales. Running a version of the system helped that bridge. It wasn't like we were going in completely putting in something new. This may be a little bit more that way just because it was a similar system, right? They did similar, so many plays are the same, guys, right? It's just what we call them and getting through that way.
What kind of lead just by simply getting walked?
And Brenton plays the game the right way. I'll say that for sure. I love the way he competes through the whistle, right? He does it through the whistle, plays with an edge. He's got some twitch. He's strong. He'll get his hands on in the blocking. I really appreciate it. He'll elevate just by alone getting more reps, and getting him on the field's a good thing for us. And you can tell he's hungry, wants to continue to get better, and showed some really nice things last year, especially after the catch, doing some nice things of breaking tackles and getting extra yards.
You move on from Evan and Christian Kirk. Just what's the challenge there now for you guys to get to that level again and sort of move forward?
Yeah, always hard letting go of good football players, man. I have a ton of respect for both of those guys. I've done some really good things here. Those were not easy decisions, and ultimately you hate to let go of good football players. But production, right? Those guys did have a good amount of targets, receptions. Some critical plays in different moments of different years. So there's some chemistry, some camaraderie there, I'm sure, that we have to, continue to work on. But I think you saw what BT and Trevor were able to do last year. And then obviously with some of the guys in Parker, Washington had a great connection. And you start to see some of these guys evolve. We're like, okay, this allows us to do some different things within our roster structure and feel confident about where it's going moving forward.
2 or 3 more minutes, guys.
Hey there, Coach. So during free agency, you all picked up wide receiver De'Ami Brown. So what have you seen in De'Ami, and what kind of led you to signing him?
Yeah, I mean, you look at somebody that's able to attack the field at all 3 levels. He can go down the field on the post and the go and the pylons and be the top shelf, but also you can throw him a screen and he can go and do something with it, right? Like, I can't coach that. I can't coach you to go and make 3 people miss after you've caught the ball. We can try. I'll teach an obstacle course, an open field running, sideline stiff arm. But at the end of the day, we're getting the play so you can go be you with the ball in your hands. And that's what he can do. Hopefully be able to help us at all 3 levels. And he's hungry. He's coming off of a successful end of the year. He wants to continue to do that. And, that's been what's been fun about having those conversations with him.
Your wife and your sons are getting settled in the Jacksonville area. What are some of the tourist attractions or restaurants or fun things to do that you've discovered in Jacksonville?
So, I mean, we've gone out to Ponte Vedra a number of times out there. Went to V's Pizza a few times. My son, pepperoni and cheese pizza is his favorite, so we're there a few times. I've been there already a number of times, but it's cool to just get around. You can tell, you can feel people do love football in the area. You can feel that, like going out to go get breakfast, going out to, get coffee. Like, you can feel people, and that's really cool, right? Like, ultimately, I'm passionate about football, and if you are too, that's cool with me, and I appreciate that. So, have really enjoyed our time so far. Kids are in, my son Jackson's in school, and it's going well.
Liam, does it make sense where your space is to maybe extend Trayvon this offseason? Are there any conversations about that?
Yeah, we're having open conversations, and at the end of the day, we'll continue to have those. And James and Tony and I will have those conversations as we go, for sure.
Last one.
No, you got it. Did you go?
I've had some good conversations with Trey. Like, sounds like we've had a number of hour-long conversations where man, I feel a guy that wants to go be great, you know, that wants to continue to take the next step and dominate. I can feel that from him. Sounds like a guy that just wants to work, does things the right way. So I'm excited about working with him, man. He's really been pleasant to talk to.